Where is this guy? Ooh. All right. Almost. Almost good. We got a dog in. We got a dog in. I figured it out. Gotta be live on. Good enough. Good enough. Well, I fucked up, huh? Well, we're not gonna redo the stream. It is what it is. Well, it's not the PB&J show. It's just me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See, I did this here thinking it was this camera. See, I got this new camera in here. Bam. See, kind of blend in with the back wall there. So Paul felt that my other camera was not up to snuff. He very generously invested in a new camera for me. We'll see how that goes today. See if we can't make both of them work. Unfortunately, I can't move this one over here. And I like this one over here. Specifically when we're over there doing this stuff. Any case, I am John. Welcome to the show, the channel, to the thing. What is this thing? Well, I don't know where you are in the world, but I just woke up about an hour ago. Not true. Not true. 90 minutes. Almost 2 hours now. So we're doing a grinding Gainz here. Get your favorite grinds, and we're gonna look at some lifts. Well, we're gonna look at my lifts because it's what we got right now. We're gonna make hay. But the hope and the prayer here is if you got a lift or a movement that causes you discomfort, pain, or you're just kind of unsure about it, feel unstable, or however, feel free to come over to our subreddit, Range Fitness Online. I know I'm very clever. But if you come here, create a post, all right, I'll look at it on Thursday mornings and review it for you. Give you my thoughts on it as a movement coach. As if you having pains, you can put that in the description. And that way we can kind of advise you based on what we're seeing. If you just wanted a general form check, form review, right? Just throw it in there. Let us know. Like I said, on Thursdays, I make it a point to look through these and break them down, highlight what I see. And I'll try to give you tips, or not tips. Try to give you exercises or cues that you can work with to help build up from where you're at. Right? Like, if you're living with joint pain, like Lenny's here showing, like, don't let that be your life. If there is not a medical reason for your pain, right? Like that meaning some infection or arthritis, and even arthritis to some degree. That one's a little gray. We can talk about that in a second. But if you haven't had a doctor tell you this is why, if it's like some sort of soft tissue issue, very likely it's a movement issue, a muscle issue. And so if we can get those things activated properly, if we can start learning better movement patterns, learning how to negotiate the world based on the movements, angles of our hips and our arms and things of that nature, life can be pretty good. And when we can do damn near anything we want to at that point, is when we have that pain restriction, right? That holds us back. So without further ado, let's slide on down. And if I say something crazy or wild that you have a question about, feel free to hit me up in chat. Let me know. No, I didn't. I don't know if these. Did I not approve these? Oh, what a terrible moderator. Thought I did approve them. Now they are approved. Man, this has been quite the trip of learning how to do all this crap. As I give y'all whiplash from scrolling around everywhere. All right. So got 2 squats here. So we'll go over the squats together. I guess we can break them up. We'll break. And my dog who farts. Guess y'all can't see it. Well, you're looking at the screen. He's in that top left there. Good God, do his farts smell bad? All right. So for those who've been hanging out and watching the stream lately, thank you. The other side of this is, I've been kind of bitching and moaning about my right shoulder. Specifically on my deadlift, I was noticing on video. I don't know if we have any real quick here. Maybe this one will show it. I always go to this. Oh, great. We don't need closed captions. But I've been noticing and you can't quite see it here as well. Maybe right there. But in any event, I feel like my right scapula is kind of winging off of my rib cage. And other video evidence that I've been kind of seeing is like when I lift, the difference in space here versus over here, right? So these are just indications that my right shoulder is, I don't feel, based on what I'm seeing, is as externally rotated. Other things that I notice is like my grip feels different on my right side. When I'm pulling or rowing, my right side feels different, whereas my left side feels nice, smooth, cohesive. My right side does not. And to add to this, right, I did have a broken rib a couple of years ago, so I feel that's a little bit to play because I can feel when I can pull that rib down versus when I'm just kind of there, just up and out. So little things that I'm working with and around. But all that to be said is I'm working various mobility exercises to help facilitate my shoulder to sit in a better position. But not just that, to be able to create stability in my shoulder prior to some of these other lifts. So, like, I'm about to go into a squat, a back squat. And while the primary working muscle groups, if you will, are your legs, however you want to define that, glutes, hams, quads, whatever, it's going to work your legs in some form or capacity depending on your squat, right? Front squat, back squat, low bar, high bar, however you want to break it out. However, for me, what I'm noticing in my squat, I know I'm showing with my left hand, but with my right hand, some of y'all, you may be able to kind of feel it, but there's a tendon that you can kind of feel that goes through there. And so when I'm in that bar position, and my right hand there, I could feel just like the entire load of the weight of the bar going through that tendon. Not a great feeling. And so instead of either kind of gritting my teeth and bearing through it or letting go of my hands and just resting my hands on the bar, I like to really focus on trying to get that shoulder to sit down in a good position. Because to me, it's indicative of everything else. And if you've been here for a while, you know that even on my overhead presses, I guess it's been about 3 weeks now, right? I was having on same issues on that right side. It was a struggle point for me. So it's always there, and I need to keep. I'm not doing the things. I ain't practicing what I preach, y'all. Guilty. However, I do at least then take moments in time before endeavors to try to at least tune things up before getting into it. So that way, at least I'm in as best position as possible. So that very long-winded explanation. What the fuck did you do? Can I zoom in any? Nope. I can only make the bar bigger. That doesn't help. All right. So what I'm doing, I can't recall already. I think I may have done a little bit of a doorway stretch, kind of open up my chest some. Right here, what I'm doing is I'll refer to as a front raise. And so I've got my palm facing up, supinated. You could use anything really. Goddamn closed captionings. But what I'm doing here, you could use a little 5-pound weight or something like that. But I'm working on trying to activate my delt. But at the same time, again, my big focus is keeping that shoulder down and flat as I work on it and trying to lift up. And as I work that, right, we'll see in in another video, does my elbow rotate out for me to get further up? Am I bringing the arm across? Those kinds of things. And what I remember from doing this the other day was, man, my shoulder felt on fire, I think is how the kids say it. So getting my grip together, I do take a little bit of while, getting myself underneath the bar, trying to set my shoulders, find that good bar placement that I want, core engage, and then we're going to press up into the bar once I feel like my hands don't feel right or something. And then we stand it up. Now this frame is pretty wide, I feel. So you have to be very careful moving back or else you go. Only going for 4 reps here, so there's 1. And so I'm always really paying attention to back here. Are we getting any butt winking? And I like looking at the knees. Do we feel like, oh, while we're down here, right, trying to sense, is there any type of rotation happening? I feel like there might be a little bit, but one of the things that I really hate about my gym right now is this squat rack is crooked relative to the mirror. So it really messes with my visions. Now, while we're here in the squat, let's enhance it. Enhance. Paul loves it when I say that. God damn. Even my phone's not even sitting. Looks like my phone is sitting crooked. The whole world's just tilted. All right. So a couple of things that I'm trying to work for, right, is a sense of my ear going down through my shoulders, down through my hips. Straight line. Yes, my shoulders are back there. So. Right, but having that sense as best we can. And then the other idea I'd like to work on is thinking about my shins. And again, trying to have them roughly parallel with each other on a squat. Now, where a lot of people you can get a lot of. I'm not a coach. No, I'm not a coach. I'm not a competition coach, or I'm not a competition judge, and I don't care to be at this point in my life. What is considered a competition squat, I assume, is probably like hips below the knees or something of that nature. Right. And realistically, though, what I'm looking for is a movement coach. Are you able to maintain this first, keeping your spine in that neutral position? To me, that's paramount, because then we build out from there. And then again, as you start moving into your squat, trying to learn how to keep your knees tracking forward as you continue the hip hinge. And that's going to keep us in this a little bit more upright posture position. Now, other things to be thinking about and working for is wherever the center of this mass is, right? So somewhere on my shoulders. And this isn't quite the most square view of the lift as I was hoping for. At least I don't think it is. Otherwise, I'm really rotated. Any case, because we can see that bar is not square to the camera. So trying to keep that mass over the center of the foot. I got that maybe a little forward in the picture. Right. I'm looking at the shoulders here. All right. So if we're trying to able to keep those thoughts in our mind while we're squatting, I say those thoughts. I Is this the chance? Is this the time for the camera? I don't know if I even have it set up. I don't even have it set up. Sorry, Paul. Not today. But this is the squats and fucking deadlifts. All of it is complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces. So like we try to distill it down. Let's think about this. Flat feet, engaged feet, however you want to think about that. You want that tripod foot. We get that tripod foot engaged when we're at our standing position. We think about our engaged core. I like to go through like a little cat cow. So extend my spine, flex my spine, hold the tension in my stomach, lengthen into my abs, right? And then make sure my ribs aren't flaring. I'm pulling my ribs down tight through my midsection. I always like the cues of either being tickled or punched in the stomach, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Find the cue that works for you. But either way, both of those sensations, like you're laughing or tickling, those are probably the more nice ways of saying that. But in any event, that's what we're getting after. That's the same sense. You're not trying to push out a turd. You're not holding your breath. None of that. As we get in, as we have our setup, we want to keep, and this is going to be for probably 90% of any exercise you do. You're going to keep the space between your shoulders and your hips the fucking same. They never change. Sure, there's going to be some exercises, there's going to be some movements here and there, but if you just keep it as a rule in your mind that the space between my shoulders and my hips, I engage, I keep that tight, and then that shit doesn't change. Bicep curls, you engage your core, there is no movement through your spine. Chest press, you engage your core, there is no movement through your spine. Squats, deadlifts, you engage your core, there is no movement through your spine. Like rows, pull-ups, engage your core, there is no movement through your spine. Like, okay, you want to do a Jefferson curl? Fine, so be it, right? That's going to be some spinal. You going to do some sit-ups? Okay, fine. Right? Cool. But there's a lot of anti-rotation exercises, a lot of anti-flexion exercises, planks, right? No movement through your spine. All right. So if we can get to the sense and this idea that we never allow movement through our spine on any exercise, first and foremost, that makes that easy to not have to constantly remember. It's just when we feel it change, we have to be aware that it changed. From there, again, we start with a hip hinge. And then on a squat, this is where again things can start. Now we're getting into some more nuances, but that flat foot and trying to keep your spine parallel with your shins. Sure, we can give you an angle at your hip. Sure, I give you an angle at your knee. But ultimately, you're going to keep your flat foot, your tripod foot, your neutral spine, and then you're going to keep your spine and your shins as parallel as possible. All right, so if you see those little orange lines there, think like as you stand up, right, they're going to rotate up. And then as we sit back down, it's like little shutters, like shutters on a window. All right, got to move my whole body to make this happen. All right, that you want to just keep that relationship occurring in a squat. Now, if you're not able to, then that's a mark. That's a compensation. It doesn't matter if like it's not a good, bad, or indifferent. Those are important things to note for yourself because that shows you what you need to work on. And speaking of needing to work on, let's watch mine again. So if I remember correctly, things felt pretty good. I felt like I may have been having, like I keep bringing up, I feel like I may have been twisting, but I didn't really see much in way of the video. One thing I do feel that I need to work on a smidge. As we see here in the setup, again, making sure I'm pulling my head back. Even from the jump. Even from the jump. The more we can get that head pulled back. I always tease, like, my wife tried to feed me food. Here comes the airplane. No. Oh, got a mouthful of his fart. Any case, so we get like someone's trying to bring you food, or if you got a small child that you try feeding, they're like, get the fuck away, right? That same idea though. We're trying to pull our head back away. That's kind of a double chin. And really keep your foot on the gas pedal with this as much as you can. And I recognize, right? Like, there's a lot of multiple things happening. I just talked about flat feet, neutral spine, keeping your spine and your shins in parallel, right? Those are going to be, right, the cake. That which is what you really, really, really need to focus on for your squats. Keeping the head back is going to be icing on the cake, right? If you find that, like, when you're pulling your head back, all the other shit goes to hell pretty quick, again, that's a mark to improve on. But again, we're still keeping the head back. I realize the stream is all just named wrong. I don't know if that changed on. Let's see. I do. Sure. Fuck it. Back to it. So again, pulling the head back. Again, trying to get our ears. All right. So from the hips, we're going to follow that seam of my shirt up. Make a line. Good. Back just about there. All right. So kind of where these two are intersecting. That would be ideal for, like, here. All right. So again, the more we can get our dome back, not letting it feel kind of like dead meat hanging on a hook. That's what we're really wanting to be after. So that's one of the things I want to need. I'd like to work on in conjunction with this right shoulder, and to some small part, right, the brevity that I'm working on in here. I'm that my right shoulder likes to kind of tilt forward. Right, this also is again going to be pulling stuff here, and they're likely in conjunction with like cell phone use, jujitsu, even working here at the computer station, right? It's the being on the desk, and my shoulder wants to be in this kind of forward tilt. We get pulled into the projects we're working on, especially, if it's something real, call it emotional or intensive, right? So the other day I was fucking trying to micromanage a goddamn naval battle in Total War. So how I'm all, when's that little red line cross over? And you shoot the cannons. So all that to be saying, right? There's a lot of these things we do habitually, and they kind of tend to meld into one. It's just which one's causing the greater pain, or which one's creating the pain right now. In any event, this head position in conjunction with the shoulder position, those two are very much, birthed from the same root, I would say. So here we kind of see where my ear is relative to the dumbbell, to the weight, to the plate. We'll get the word. And then you see me trying to adjust. Now, during squats, I know this is going to sound like no duh, John, but I cannot emphasize it enough to really try to sense pressing through the legs, stopping the sense of I just got to go up and down, but feel yourself use your legs. Because if you get to that point, things are completely different for us. It really makes a difference. Really makes a difference. We'll get to the other squat here in a second. Always trying to get sense about what is your prime mover? Like, what is the area you are activating? Like, how are we getting the job done? And there's a lot of talk about mind muscle connection. I'm guilty of talking about mind muscle connection ad nauseum. But I believe if we can really feel the muscle working, don't get me wrong. If you don't feel the muscle working, there's only so many like muscles that do particular jobs. And so one, it could be it's just not being taxed or tested enough, so to speak. The load's just not there. And that's going to be the case if like you're working your chest and you're stabilizing your delts and stuff aren't really strong enough yet. So you just feel those guys maybe being taxed as you keep your shoulders down, or maybe as you're pressing, you feel a little bit of chest, but you just feel a lot in the shoulders or the triceps. Again, it could be just that those are the weaker link right now. But as you begin training and consistency with it, right, you should really be able to sense how you press the shoulders back and then how the chest is creating the movement best you can. There's various ways to get into that mind muscle connection, right? You can, like I was just showing there, unloaded. That's your shoulders back and think, try to feel self contracting through that tissue. Touch it so you get an external feedback. So that way, when there is contraction, you can really start trying to feed that sensation. And that's again one of the ways we can get into better connection. Often you'll see coaches, right, with their clients. I do this very frequently. It's like especially on back stuff, but trying to facilitate or kind of just palpate the skin of the tissues that we're trying to engage. So that way, again, it helps give the brain somewhere to go. A lot of times, it's especially on our backs, like we can't see it, so it's hard for us to connect. I know it's mirrors are in a gym not just for vanity reasons, but you can see the muscles that you're working very often. So the more you can see it, you can again make changes if you see something happening that you're not wanting, but more so you can see the muscles you're trying to engage and create a better connection to them. All right, Grandpa, let's see what you did. Scoot, 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 scoot. So when I was younger, a lot younger, in middle school, I was at a Catholic school. And I think there was like 3 or 4 of us in class. And we had to do a play or something like that for Easter. And it was on like Easter Sunday. Or it may not have been Easter Sunday, but it was around Easter time. And I got to be Jesus. My mom and her neighbor, they painted my face all up, making me look all brutal and scarred up. But after we got to the show and we were to the play and we did the play, about halfway through after Jesus was crucified, they had laid me on these basically like boxes, like step up boxes almost. And my head was hanging at the edge and it was so uncomfortable. And I had to be there for like 5 or 10 minutes just laying there. And so I was trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. So I just start scooting down. And I was not that hit. But anyways, let's get back to it. So right now, one of the things I've been really enjoying kind of playing with is especially when I'm about to go, I think, into pullovers. But pullovers or brain crushers, I'm really trying to make sure I set my shoulders down as best I can, really feel all that active. And then I do a little bit of a chest press here to lift the weight. And then once I'm there, then I start working on trying to take the pull over motion, add some spicing to it, again, bringing the knees up to help again put more pressure on the core. Oh, we got subtitles again. And so, right, I'm really just trying to work into my lats, as I'm seeing here. Good enough. So, as I'm seeing here, yep, that's good. I feel like I got a little arch here, right? Not the end of the world. By consequence, we do see a little bit of arch there. And could probably, I know I'm thinking about it, but again, always getting those elbows to rotate in as much as we can. Be interesting to see this from a different view as well. And to some point, like, we only have so much we can create. But what I really am trying to what I'm focusing on for myself right now is making sure these shoulders are staying down away from my ears as much as I can and still create as much of that internal rotation of my elbow, which means I'm creating maximum external rotation of my shoulder. I know it's kind of confusing. But what's got really caught my eye, like I said earlier, is this roundness to my stomach. Or my upper, especially it's more my upper stomach. So this is telling me that I need to really focus on again keeping these ribs from flaring. And trying to take up this space here. Now, a couple of things that will help with this, right? And bring the knees in a little bit. Bringing it to where they're more over the hips. Because all this is a giant fucking lever. Right? It's just adding more intensity, more pressure to the system. And we are not properly engaged, or if it's just overtaxing, right? We'll get some sort of compensation. Some sort of, I think of it kind of like as a blowout. Now, as I'm doing these and as I progress in this, I would like to get my feet, as low, kind of like into a hollow body. This is just going to be a lot of, strength through the stomach and the hips to get there. It's going to take some time to build there. But it's just building, again, this overall strength throughout the entire various positions, specifically at the weakest position of my body, right? Specifically in this front side, this anterior side. And the longer I'm in my hips, right, the more my hips are in, right, that means my hip flexors are going to be super, super strong, which means my abs will be able to pull against a very strong muscle, making them strong, right? Which then again, it goes just up the chain. The further we get this, the further the legs are going to come out here. Now the hips are going to be super, super lengthened. And remember, a long muscle is a weak muscle. And so it doesn't matter how strong you are, it's just the way it is, right? You can get Arnold or the strongest man alive right now, whoever that may be, and you give them a weight that they can hold here, very comfortably and easily. Well, they're not going to be able to hold it out here, right? So that's the same thing when we get into some of these body weight mechanics. So the further I can get this out, the more challenge it'll put through the whole system, especially when we start creating movement, right? Are we swaying or twisting? Those are gonna be other little things to look for. Yeah, so you notice I pull my knees in some because I feel I was flaring a bit too much in the ribs. I did not realize I moved my feet that much. Yeah, that's something I need to stop. All right, so we're gonna flip on over after we recover here. We're trying to knock out, I think, 10 push-ups. And so again, part of this is I wanted to work chest, but still is trying to find some different ways to work it versus just strict presses, especially because of the grip issue I've been having. Now, as I'm going here, I've already engaged my shoulders, and so that's big thing I coach with clients. So as we're getting set up, on my hand placement, which is going to be about as broad as your shoulders or as broad as your chest. Index fingers outside of parallel. Again, I think of a W kind of shape. I also went to school at A&M, so one of our rivals was the Red Raiders, and they do this as their whatever. I mean, we did thumbs up, so I can't really say too much. Go gig them. Any case, I'm pressing my hands down just like our feet, where we are finding that tripod foot, but in our hands a little different. We ain't got a tripod as much, but it's that same concept, right? We're trying to keep our whole hand in contact with the ground without dumping all of your weight into the heel of your hand. In fact, you should be trying to press through these base knuckles. And for some people, that's going to be a motherfucker. That's going to just light up your forearms if you're able to do it. If you're not able to, it may be that you got to work on some other mobility techniques before you can finish, really challenge yourself into push-ups. And get my shoulders and my hands in place. And then I don't notice, I'm not sure if I did it, but typically go through like a cat-cow motion. Again, engaging the core muscles and even the erectors and the back muscles. And this is the big one, is step one leg back at a time. Right? You see how I'm in this tabletop? You just said a long muscle is a weak muscle. Thus, a short muscle, it's a strong muscle. Thank you, chat. I appreciate that. So being in this flex tip position, this allows our core the greatest opportunity to truly get engaged. This is going to give us the best setup possible. So once we get everything tight, then we'll lengthen. Then we'll put ourselves into the disadvantaged position that is a high plank. The leg, feet and thighs together. Now I could work on straightening my knees out a little more, I feel, but I want to I'm really trying to make sure that I have my stomach held in during this entire time. And I'm also, again, being a little hyper focused on my right shoulder during this as well. So again, some things may kind of fall to the side from time. This isn't going to ruin anything, but it is a place of improvement for me. Again, trying to get a little bit more straighter knees. All right. Now on push-ups, how do you think about push-ups? What's going through your mind during a push-up? How do you execute the perfect push-up? God, there's so many cues. I don't know, man. It's probably going to be like a laundry list of shit. Well, first and foremost, right, we talked about keeping the shoulders and the hips, right? This relationship, as terrible of a line that was, we'll just connect the dots for the sake of argument. So that has to stay the same, right? We already made that, talked about that. So that's rule one. So for push-ups, the thing I really want you to focus on is keeping the elbow over this wrist in terrible line. All right, I could actually, looks to me, I might be able to move forward a little bit, but we'll get to that. Or move my hands back some. Probably move my hands forward. Anyways, all right, so we're shoulders to hips, maintain that rigid core, right? Maintain that rigid spine, I should say. At the top of your push-up, we're trying to stack the shoulder over the wrist. And this is what I was kind of nitpicking myself on over the elbows, all right? So it'd be shoulder, elbow, wrist. All those shoulders, all those joints should be stacked at the top. Again, high plank. Right? Nothing but a high plank. Whoops. When we're getting, and we'll look at this as we get into the lift, but as we descend, big focus is going to be just keeping your elbow over the wrist. Right? And so for that to happen, there is nowhere for you to go but slightly forward. Right? If your elbows flare wide, right? Now your elbows are no longer stacked over your wrist. Right? So arms are stacked, elbows over the wrist. To keep that relationship, right? My body has to move down upward relative to my forearms. Bam. Now, depending on your strength and mobility levels, there's no reason for you not to go deeper. Just note that you're no longer really working your chest once you get to a certain depth. Not wrong, not bad, just is. And so anytime our shoulders, or more specifically, is our elbows get behind our body, that tilts the shoulders forward. It just has to happen. You can try to pull your shoulders back as best you can. Keep back as best you can. Eventually, no matter who you are, your shoulders will tilt forward. Thus, it becomes a front delt loaded effort. Not a bad thing, just a thing. So just know as you get deeper into a push up, you may feel this is more of a stretch over your delts, which is fine. And then as you begin pressing up, that's going to be the real challenging part, mostly because you're using tiny little muscles. Then your chest takes over. Depending on your development in your chest, it may or may not be difficult at that point. So one way that we make it more difficult for the chest is we just never let it rest. We don't ever let the chest have a moment off. And once we go into those delts, your pecs just, they don't turn off completely. That's the wrong phrasing, but they're no longer there in full force. They're no longer having to participate as intensely as necessary. So as we get to this position with our elbow, you can kind of see my back here, right? We're trying to keep that elbow in line. Oh, these lines, John. With the shoulder, the plane of the back, right? And then this, I always kind of see it roughly as a 90 degrees or so at my elbow to the wrist now. So again, kind of the cheat codes or quick ways of checking if you're doing form or technique right is it should either be in a line or it should be at 90 degrees. I find that's not terrible way of looking at things. I know at squats we're talking a little different, but even within a squat, if you are hip hinging, how does we think of this? I think for maximal strength efforts, you're going to be somewhere probably around 90 degrees at your knees, relative to your thigh, relative to your shin, not to the ground, but to your shin to your femur. Any deeper than that, you're no longer really accessing the glutes as much, and it becomes more, I think, of like quads and some smaller muscles, and that's fine too. But you'll have that discrepancy through the motion. How the body works, man. In any case, you're also noticing, kind of, damn, I was smoked. Those pullovers cooked me. So it took a moment, collect myself, get back to it. And so we're trying to feel our shoulders being on a little bit of an arc. And I am blasting through these because I am feeling cooked at this point. And I had a hair in my mouth. Great way to end a set. On the pullovers, what I'm seeing is, again, need to probably keep the knees in a little closer for myself, allowing me better engagement, especially of this rib flare, this minor rib flare. But all this, again, it's layers, right? So those little stacking dolls. So the better, again, this gets solidified, the better my shoulder's going to get in position or be able to get in position. And then again, I can use the same weight and I can increase challenge to this exercise just by reaching my legs further out. Or again, if I just want to go up in weight, right, I can do that as well after I feel that stability really connecting equally to both sides, and then just keeping the feet on the ground as I've been doing. But again, I like to change things up a little bit because this is going to require more stability throughout my whole system, and I feel that's always a nice challenge. Oh, and then looking at the presses, let's look at these push-ups again. I think for me on these is just doing some more of them. Really trying to stay as connected as I can to that mid back for myself. Yeah, I feel like I was losing my stomach a little bit. Looked like I adjusted some. And so again, thinking about our core engagement on a push-up. Right? From the shoulders to the hips. And might as well be to your knee on these kind of things. Right? We want all that to be in a straight line. The common compensation that I'll see on this, especially as people fatigue, right, as we get that big sway back, right? The hips start like hitting the floor. And then we get this kind of free willy, this big arch to our body. That's not what we want. Like if you're getting to that point in your push-up game, you're toast. Rest. Move on. You're done. But having this sense again of constant drawing in through that midsection, such that you feel like you're tucking your tailbone through the effort of the stomach. Right? This isn't a booty clench. Right? We're not trying to make diamonds back there. We're sucking into the navel, into our abs. Right? This is using our back musculature. It's the same shit, just in a different position. Right? Just like on the squats. Draw into our navel, we lengthen it. Get that big, broad positioning. And then we create movement around that. We're not training movement through this, we're training movement around that. But for me, again, making sure it looks like maybe just a little lift of the hips through the stomach some. Maybe it's just these pant legs messing with me. And then again, trying to make sure I sensing these shoulders moving well. I really liked this combination though. This was quite a 1-2 combo for a super setting. All right. So this is still from this is after the other set of squats. So if you're here earlier, you saw the first set of squats. This is the set after that. Again, as I'm working here, I'm trying to, again, use my front delt here to lift, making sure I keep that elbow staying straight. It kind of looks like my arm wants to go wide, so working on trying to keep that elbow in front of my shoulder. I like to think of plexiglass coming underneath, and that's what I'm looking at and feeling for. I also recognize that this angle gives it kind of a fisheye lens, so skews the view a bit. And so again, I've been having some just discomfort in this not discomfort, but just got a winging right scapula during my deadlifts is what caught my eye on this. And then I've been having, big yawn. And then I've been just having some general grip on other things. So trying to pay attention to it and trying to give it a little TLC, especially before these big lifts. On my back squats, again, I've been noticing some pain in my hand sometimes from like the weight sitting on a tendon, if you will. So getting myself wedged in here, standing up, little steps, big ass forehead. And hips going back, we're going for 4 reps. Oh, we don't go out. We don't need to go all the way back. What did y'all see? About 140. Okay. Right here off that. Again, it might be a little bit of the angle. But like right here, it looks like tilted. Such a great view. Such a great face. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So again, maybe it's the rack is twisted because again the rack is twisted, but I think I have a phone resting on the wall maybe. So there may be some of that there. But what else do we see? Again, maybe again, depending on how off center the camera was. God, that's a horrible face. Huh. Just trying to see again. Am I collapsing somewhere? Am I tilting somewhere? Am I twisting somewhere? Am I just overanalyzing the shit out of it? Could be a little of both. But that was like 3 things, John. All right. And then here at the bottom, at this right side still seems lower than the left side. Knees look pretty even relative to the rack. Feet look, and this left toe looks like it's coming up some. It'd be good to pin that sucker down. All right, so just some tidbits, small potatoes here, and making sure the toes are staying pinned to the ground. We want to create a little arch to the foot, but not at the expense of rolling the foot over. Let's see, we see that to that, that to that. That looks pretty relative. Oh, it catches here, catching there. And then we see a little bunching of the shirt right here. But to me, this right shoulder's still trying to tilt forward just ever so slightly. And if we look ahead, right down my butt chin there. Again, not sure on the angle, but it looks like I might be putting more weight over on my left even. Gonna be something else to kind of just keep an eye on. See how we do with that. Or maybe even I'm slightly twisting. You rotated that left shoulder slightly forward, trying to rotate kind of this way a little. What's that? My left shoulder. I need to rotate my left shoulder back. Right shoulder. Right shoulder. And that may stand a little to reason. Because, like, I play guitar. That pulls me to the left. I got this second screen. It pulls me to the left. Be interesting. Huh. Yeah, my head definitely looks to be kind of off center there to me. Interesting. I figure out how to get a better goddamn square angle, aren't I? So I'm focused on big inhales on the way down. Not too much on this holding the breath thing at the bottom. And once we find our foot positionings, again, planting our feet, inhale, hip hinge, knee bend, same time. You want that hip hinge just to begin moments before, but then after that, knees start bending, hips start hinging all at the same time. I know I'm nitpicking a lot on myself here, and these are some of these just my own. We're all our own worst enemies. But again, my big goal for myself, as I said last time, is like I don't want to have mobilities as I get older, mobility issues or movement limitations. So I'm not too worried about how heavy I go on this. Like I'm at a weight that challenges me enough. I'd like to build up, sure. I mean, 225 I think would be a good goal for me right now, but not at the expense of this shoulder, wanting to constantly wing on me. And so you're going to see me work on that. I think I got about maybe 3 more weeks before I change it up. And then we'll still have some squats in the mix, but it won't be I don't know why this thing is like, maybe I'm hitting back somehow. Any case. I got one last thing here for the morning. And then we'll get on getting. This is going to be kind of a weird one. Let me try to set it up. I'm a terrible cameraman. If you clearly couldn't tell from all my second guessings of is it square or am I just twisted in the picture. So what we're going to see here is I'm working another superset. What I find when I'm working heavy lifts is an hour goes by super fast. Let's see. Let's do some quick math. So let's just say a heavy set maybe takes us 40 seconds plus 120 seconds of recovery, and that's a short recovery, so we're at 160. The program I follow gives you as many as 6 sets. Divide by 60. No. So what did I say here? That was seconds. Yeah. All right. So we're saying 40 seconds plus 120 seconds, 160 seconds. A little about like over 2.5 minutes, right? I could have done that without the calculator, John. And that's if we're just like really crisp. Likely we're going to be taking maybe as much as 2 minutes. So 4 minutes times that by 6. So you can easily eat up 30 minutes in one effort, right? Even if we're not being that egregious, let's say it's just about 3 minutes per set times that by 6. You're at 18 minutes, and you want to do 2 big lifts, 36 minutes. And that's again, you're cranking through. So all that to be said, I like to use these supersets to help give me a little bit more stimulus, give me a little bit more volume in when I'm doing these heavier lifts. So what I did before this in my shitty camera angle, couldn't catch it. I was trying to be very, very artsy here with this shot, I guess. was doing some calf raises before. And so I was doing some standing calf raises, uh, really working on getting to a deep stretch position. And for these, I think I was keeping my knee slightly bent as well. Again, a slightly bent knee hits a different calf muscle, whereas when we have a straight knee, it's the others. I think it's a straight knee. It's more of what's called the gastrocnemiuses, nemesises. I always see the word nemesis in it. The other ones would be the soleus. So the bent knee gets more at the soleus, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So what we're doing here is a heel walk, is what I call them. So I'm lifting my toes up towards my knees, and this really activates into what's called your anterior tibialis. Now, in high school, we did these in track practice every day. This is part of our warm-ups every day. We do all the little plyometric things, and then we'd always end with the heel walks, or your ATIB walks. Then I came straight back into backpedaling. Just nothing wild, nothing fast. Just, again, walking backwards. A couple of reasons for it. One is a lot of people normally don't spend any time walking backwards. You can have the argument of motor control or something of that nature. The other side of it is just we work muscles differently. You work the same muscles, but differently when we go backwards. And so this, again, allows me to put my calf into a super long position. And then I have to pull through my hip flexor to move my body. Whereas when we walk, we just lift the weight of the leg with our hip flexor. Right? And get a little bit of glute extension and glute work here. It's my quad into a little bit of a lengthened position and having to work there. There's just a lot of good things happening with this. Now, other sides of this is, right, you can see how my foot's kind of rolling out here. So these can give you also opportunities to work on, maybe if you're a little more advanced or just don't have any pain issues, start being aware of where your feet are, how your feet are moving during it. I don't know why this is so long to it. I guess I did two. I did 2 sets. Yeah. And then again, heels up, heels up. And while I'm doing these heels up, right, I'm still trying to, again, tuck my tailbone. Trying not to let my pelvis spill forward. And during the walk, trying to take small, controlled walk. Not trying to be too sachet. Get the money-making hips working. And then again, on the back pedal, think like you're trying to sneak across grandma's floors. Like my grandma had wood floors, so that's why I always say that. But right, we're reaching back. I think I was just tired too at this point. I wanted to be done. And then things you can do here is like, how loud are you when you're stepping? How loud are your footsteps? Can you modulate them? Can you be quiet? Can you just be quiet? Again, this really helps, again, put our calves into a nice lengthened position and put some stresses through them. And you're going to work that ATIB again when we lift up and push off. So it's just one of these nice ways to add some volume, again, add some stimulus to muscles that don't get a lot of love, especially after calf raises. A lot of times, right, we get done with calf raises and we get those big baseball calves just screaming at us. Doing some things like ATIB walks where we stimulate the other side of the joint, especially if you have something like shin splints. I don't know why that took me forever to remember. But shin splints, again, those are more, I know that's the name of it. It's like tennis elbow, though. It's a muscles being overutilized. Thus, we feel pain elsewhere in the body. So training, again, pairing up your calves with the fronts of your shins, doing these little supersets will be beneficial in not just development of the calf muscle, but staving off any type of shin pain and ankle pain and potentially knee pain as well. So there. And that's what we got for this morning, y'all. I forgot to get my two best audience members on. That's probably why no one's here today. Son of a. You try to prepare for everything, and yet, Life happens. Oh, there's the new camera. There we go. A little perfect. So here's the thing, yo. If you're having pain in your movements, if you're having pain throughout the day and you're looking for some help, you've gone to doctors and doctors have said, "Hey, ain't nothing wrong. You just need to let it rest. Take some anti-inflammatories." If you're finding that it's still coming up and it's still being a persistent issue for you, holler at us. Do we make a living as trainers? Yes. Yes, I am absolutely trying to strike it rich through Twitch and YouTube and all that. However, I'm nobody right now. I ain't making no money off of that. So why not help you? Why not show how it works? Look, no special equipment, just you. You don't need my magic hands of massage to help you. You got your own magic hand. Whole point of range fitness is we're trying to share the knowledge of how to use your body, of how our bodies operate. We talk about we want to try to help people understand the underlying mechanisms that govern human movement. You don't have to get into be an expert in any of this stuff, but you got to at least have a basic understanding of it, especially if you're in pain. If you choose not to, then it's a life of going to be, I think, pain medications and surgeries. There comes a time and a place where we need surgeries, especially after catastrophic injuries. I get it. But if you are, just all of a sudden this pain just showed up out of nowhere and you've been to the doctor and they said your blood works fine, you don't have any infections, you're just not cancerous, there's no arthritis, whatever, everything is clear. You just, here's some pills. Maybe they offer you physical therapy, right? Those kinds of things can build into worse and worse issues. So again, if you're dealing with any of that, holler at us. Let us help you out. Currently, we got two primary ways of engagement. Tuesday nights, Paul and I, my colleague Paul, we have our PB&J show. Currently, we're trying to just have discussions over different various areas of pain. We just got done with elbow pain. Talk about the anatomy of the elbow. Talk about some of the things that how the elbow functions. And then we also get to talk about specific common injuries and where common remedies fail, and how the range fitness methodology addresses and answers those solutions or those problems. Then there's Thursdays. Thursday mornings here with me on Grinding Gainz, our caffeinated critiques. Whole idea here is, again, you got a movement you want reviewed. Hop on Reddit if you're up for it. If you're open to it, hop on Reddit. Give us put your anonymous account and create a post. You're not even seeing the screen I'm looking at. That's cool. Right? Come on in, create a post, post it to our Range Fitness Online. You can give us details, put details in there if you'd like. Tell me what your problem is, what you're noticing. Or if you just wanted a form check and form review, make sure you're doing, maybe there's no pain, but you're like me, you don't want to have any pain. So you just want an outside check. Join us on that Range Fitness Online. Put it up there, and then you can either look for the VOD that gets posted on YouTube eventually, or you can join us live as I dissect your movement, as I dissect your lifts, and try to help you identify where maybe you're having some imbalances and offer you some ideas and ways to work on it. And then hell, if you keep on posting, keep on getting the reviews, right? All right, y'all. It's about that time for me. I'm going to have to boogie woogie woogie. Sorry for being late today. Oh, Audrey Brayan. Yo, yo, yo. How are we doing, sir, person, ma'am? I'm doing well. What up to you? Audrey is in the house. How goes your day? Oh, Lisa, thank you. I'm a girly. Yeah, I realized that after I read your name. Yeah, I know. Bad habits. Everybody in my world is a dude or a guy living that kind of life. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I am unfortunately about to log off for the morning. But gotta go earn Twitch money. Gotta pay for all my Twitch gear. What brings you by? I know, right? Only if only Twitch paid the bills, but Twitch doesn't pay the bills quite yet. It's all good. What caught your eye? Was if it was elbow pain, I apologize. Not because we can't help with elbow pain, but I did not talk about elbow pain at all. Yeah, these mornings we try to do form reviews. Right, if you got any exercises that you've been working, feel free to post them, and I'll break them down. But yep, gotta go make some money. Well, thank you, Lisa. However, I don't have a Discord, so I appreciate your chats. Anyways, y'all, appreciate y'all stopping by. I'm gonna boogie woogie. Until next time, y'all stay mindful as fuck and don't compensate. Thank y'all for being here. Y'all have a great one. Thank y'all for the follows. Audrey, have a great day. Lisa, don't get yourself banned trying to, pour out for other people and things. Y'all be well.